Hello, kindergartners. It's Mrs. Martin. Today we are going to read one of my favorite stories together. It is called Chrysanthemum. Remember that this is called the title. This is the title of the story. And the author is down here. It is by Kevin Henkes. So he is actually the author. He wrote the words, but he also did the pictures. Now, this story is about a girl and her very special name, Chrysanthemum, just like you have a special name. All right, let's begin. The day she was born was the happiest day in her parents' lives. She's perfect, said her mother. Absolutely, said her father. And she was absolutely perfect. Her name must be everything she is, said her mother. Her name must be absolutely perfect, said her father. And it was Chrysanthemum. Her parents named her Chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum grew and grew, and when she was old enough to appreciate it, Chrysanthemum loved her name. She loved the way it sounded when her mother woke her up, and she loved the way it sounded when her father called her in for dinner. And she loved the way it sounded when she whispered it to herself in the bathroom mirror. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum loved the way her name looked when it was written with ink on an envelope. She loved the way it looked when it was written with icing on her birthday cake. And she loved the way it looked when she wrote it herself with a fat orange crayon. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum thought her name was absolutely perfect, and then she started school. On the first day, Chrysanthemum wore her sunniest dress and her brightest smile. She ran all the way. Hooray, said Chrysanthemum, school! But when Mrs. Chud took roll call, everyone giggled upon hearing Chrysanthemum's name. Roll call just means when the teacher takes attendance. It's so long, said Joe. It scarcely fits on her name tag, said Rita, pointing. I'm named after my grandmother, said Victoria. You're named after a flower. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and informed Mrs. Chud that Chrysanthemum's name was spelled with 13 letters. That's exactly half as many letters as there are in the alphabet, Victoria explained. Thank you for sharing that with us, Victoria, said Mrs. Chud. Now put your head down. If I had a name like yours, I'd change it, Victoria said. As the students lined up to go home, I wish I could, thought Chrysanthemum miserably. Welcome home, said her mother. Welcome home, said her father. School is no place for me, said Chrysanthemum. My name is too long, it scarcely fits on my name tag, and I'm named after a flower. Oh, pish, said her mother. Your name is beautiful, and precious and priceless and fascinating and winsome, said her father. It's everything you are, said her mother. Absolutely perfect, said her father. Those students did not use kind words to her, did they? We need to remember to always use kind words. Chrysanthemum felt much better after her favorite dinner, macaroni and cheese with ketchup, and an evening filled with hugs and kisses and parcheesi. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that her name was Jane. It was an extremely pleasant dream. The next morning, Chrysanthemum wore her most comfortable jumper. She walked to school as slowly as she could. She dragged her feet in the dirt. Chrysanthemum, 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 she wrote. She even looks like a flower, said Victoria as Chrysanthemum entered the playground. Let's pick her, said Rita, pointing. Let's smell her, said Joe. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and said, "A chrysanthemum is a flower. It lives in a garden with worms and other dirty things." "Thank you for sharing with us, Victoria," said Mrs. Chudd. "Now put your head down." "I just cannot believe your name," Victoria said as the students lined up to go home. "Neither can I," thought Chrysanthemum miserably. Poor Chrysanthemum. I feel very sad for her right now. "Welcome home," said her mother. "Welcome home," said her father. "School is no place for me," said Chrysanthemum. "They said I even look like a flower. They pretended to pick me and smell me." "Oh, pish," said her mother. "They're just jealous and envious and begrudging and discontented and jaundiced," said her father. "Who wouldn't be jealous of a name like yours?" said her mother. "After all, it's absolutely perfect," said her father. Chrysanthemum felt a trifle better after her favorite dessert, chocolate cake with buttercream frosting. And another evening filled with hugs and kisses and parcheesi. Parcheesi is a game. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that she really was a chrysanthemum, and she sprouted leaves and petals. Victoria picked her and plucked her leaves and petals one by one until there was nothing left but a scrawny stem. It was the worst nightmare of Chrysanthemum's life. Chrysanthemum wore her outfit with 7 pockets the next morning. She loaded the pockets with her most prized possessions and her good luck charms. Chrysanthemum took the longest route possible to school. She stopped and stared at each and every flower. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. The flowers seemed to say to her. She looks so sad. I hope this is a better day for her today. That morning, the students were introduced to Mrs. Twinkle. She was the music teacher. Her voice was like something out of a dream, as was everything else about her. The students were speechless. They thought Mrs. Twinkle was an indescribable wonder, and they went out of their way to make a nice impression. Mrs. Twinkle led the students in scales. Then she assigned roles for the class musical. Victoria was chosen as the dainty fairy queen, and Rita was chosen as the spiffy butterfly princess, and Joe was chosen as the all-important pixie messenger, and Chrysanthemum was chosen as the daisy. Chrysanthemum's a daisy, chrysanthemum's a daisy, Joe, Rita, and Victoria chanted, thinking it was wildly funny. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. "What's so humorous?" asked Mrs. Twinkle. "Chrysanthemum," was the answer. "Her name is so long," said Joe. "It scarcely fits on her name tag," said Rita, pointing. "I'm named after my grandmother," said Victoria. "She's named after a flower." "My name is long," said Mrs. Twinkle. "It is?" said Joe. "My name would scarcely fit on a name tag," said Mrs. Twinkle. "It would?" said Rita, pointing. "And," said Mrs. Twinkle, "I'm named after a flower, too." "You are?" said Victoria. "Yes," said Mrs. Twinkle. "My name is Delphinium, Delphinium Twinkle. And if my baby is a girl, I'm considering the name Chrysanthemum. I think it's absolutely perfect." Oh, Chrysanthemum could scarcely believe her ears. She blushed, she beamed, she bloomed. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Oh, I'm so glad she's happy now. Joe, Rita, and Victoria looked at Chrysanthemum longingly. "Call me Marigold," said Joe. "I'm Carnation," said Rita, pointing. "My name is Lily of the Valley," said Victoria. Chrysanthemum did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She knew it. And that's the end. So boys and girls, today for your activity, you are going to do something with your beautiful, absolutely perfect names. In your supply bag that you got at Lakeview was a name plate, and it should have your name on it, just like mine. Says Mrs. Martin in red because we are the Red Birdhouse. And I want you today to first practice writing your name on a piece of paper, and then I want you to decorate your name tag, your nameplate, because you are absolutely perfect. Now I showed you here that I'm putting some flowers, pink flowers on it, because Mrs. Martin, first of all, loves the color pink, but I also love flowers, especially daisies. Daisies are one of my favorite. Then on the back, I saw a rainbow in the story, so I decided to make a rainbow in the back. But you can decorate it and pick some things that you like, because we are going to use these nameplates during morning meeting. And so you might be holding it up and you want it to be about you. It'll have your absolutely perfect name on it, and then it'll have some pictures and coloring of things that you like. Just like Mrs. Martin loves flowers, you pick things to design on yours that you like. Okay? All right, have a wonderful day practicing your name and decorating your nameplate. And I will see you soon.